Formal letter of apology to Admiral of the Fleet, Viclar. Dear Admiral Viclar, very well. I apologize for calling you a coward. I must insist you continue with your diplomatic intelligence concerning the human military. Furthermore, your letter has been passed to Rear Admiral Hirohito and confirmed as being received on board her vessel, UHSS Everest, which is currently escorting the space battleship Yamato on a goodwill tour of the human outer rim colonies. Now, continue the briefing. And reminder, it is not in good faith to send messages to someone who you may be shooting at tomorrow. I will be lodging a formal reprimand request to the Admiralty before the end of this cycle. I also demand as the Ambassador an apology from you for threatening a personal duel during a time of strife such as this. By my feathers, I will come down to your office and receive it in person if necessary. Diplomat to the Galactic Communal Senate. Volmera of the Sky's Great Wing. Section 4. The Human Air Force. The Human Air Force is a strange one. You see, while we have two branches of the military, the humans keep their ground-based aircraft and their fleet-based fighters separate, despite the fact that both are capable of extra-atmosphere operations. That is the action of fighting in an atmosphere, or flying out of it and fighting in space. Now, I need you to understand. Unlike the Blue Water Navy or their army, their air force is absolutely insane. Their air force isn't just responsible for control of the skies and space immediately around a planet. They are responsible for fortification. Now we, as much of the galactic community, work on a series of rapid deployment, rapid assault warfare. Fortifications are normally not useful when in space. You could bypass them or go around them. Your resources are better put towards building more ships or preparing battlefields, as opposed to fortifying a position. That is, until we met the humans. Normally, a planet will have enough defenses to fend off pirates or a light raid. Larger and the rest of a civilization is expected to intervene. They may have ships stationed in orbit, or able to show up for rapid response, but human worlds are fortified. Their air force is tasked with such fortifications and forms small units, well, small for them. Human regiments, like the Hadar 2nd Defenders or Sol 7th Sluggers, are such units. They are formed from locals to defend the local star system. While someone must attend the academy to lead these units, the locals know the system best and begin building fortifications. This starts with asteroids large enough to house a base of at least 10 individuals. 3 sensor technicians, 2 officers, and 5 gunners. That may seem odd, but you see, these small bases each house a single railgun and 2 point defense platforms. The problem? It's an asteroid. And there are hundreds of decoy asteroids rigged to explode on command, littering human systems from the edge to the outer planets, and even more inside. Larger orbital bodies house multiple installations, underground hangars, planetary defense shields, and all sorts of the like. When a human colony is founded, the first thing the humans do is fortify the system in advance, before the colonists arrive. As we know, many races hate them either for their proficiency in war, or that they look weak and easy to take in person. Now, I am one of the very few Lechinu to have visited the Sol system. The first thing I noticed about the human cradle world is the fortification. This part is something I truly have no words for, but the humans do, and I shall reveal it in a moment. Sol has 8 planets, 146 moons, dozens of comets, 5 dwarf planets, and more than 4 million asteroids in it that could hold a base. Every single one of them has fortifications on it, and they crisscross in massive overlapping fire. At any time, an invader in the Sol system will have 16,000 railgun rounds, a 418,811 or more missiles, and an uncountable number of fighters flying at them, if the Terran Blackwater Navy did not exist. The humans call it Fortress Protocol. Now, Ambassador, I know you do not understand what a railgun is, but allow me to explain. You see, human primary weapon systems are not a missile like the Hellites, nor plasma weapons such as our people rely upon, nor is it the feeling of phaser bolts or disruptor weapons. No. Humans rely upon throwing rocks at their enemies at extreme speed. Every human weapon is designed around this. Not even the proton launchers of the Borgelli compare to human weaponry. These weapons require ammunition and large amounts of power, but you know one advantage these weapons have? They, like missiles and torpedoes in space, pass right through shields. They fly with such speed and mass that even if your armor holds against the blow, the ship itself will be moved off course and shudder, sending the crew flying. There is no explosive charge, well, not in the majority of the shots they fire. While humans do have plasma, laser, phaser, missile, and torpedo weapons on other smaller craft, their primary weapon is this: hurling a rock made of tungsten steel refined alloy, using magnets, and slinging it at near the speed of light. Now, Ambassador for Mirror, the railgun may be primitive in its construction and theory, but I assure you, every single hit by these weapons would do significant damage to any vessel on the receiving end, including ours. We rely upon shields as opposed to armor, hence why our ships have elegant curves, grand designed features, and dozens of point defense weapons to keep missiles, fighters, and torpedoes away from our ships. But these railguns do not care. All they have to do is predict our course correctly and fire. Shields absorb energy. They do not absorb physical objects flying at you. Energy weapons are more destructive and consistent with their damage in personal combat. Not only do you have to deal with the wound where it hits, but also the discharge of the energy across the body and nervous system. Railguns, on the other hand, are even equipped by human soldiers, and I have seen them accelerated for an individual. A ball barely the size of a single talon claw, tearing the arm off of a creature 3 times the size and twice the mass of a human. What they do to ships is really a remarkable thing. The other part of the human Air Force is their willingness to demand control of the skies, exoplanet sphere, and solar space from anyone. They will do this, anywhere, anytime, and without reservation for their own lives. They are proud and crazy individuals, and the term ace across the galaxy comes from the human Air Force. The human card game has 52 cards, made of 4 different sets of 13 different cards, and the most powerful cards in the deck are called aces. By extension, this term was adopted to any Air Force personnel who could achieve 5 confirmed kills in the skies. They kept it when they went to space. We adopted it as a good, easy-to-understand term for all intergalactic pilots who can achieve 5 kills. You see, humans may not be the best built for flying, but they are the most insane. Let me explain with one final piece of information. The Battle of SARS-1. Here, the Swolens were attempting to defend their homeworld from the exogalactic threat, Pyrothetics. It was said that once one of the Pyrothetics fighters were pursuing your fighter, you were doomed. The humans, however, proved this wrong, with a technique called the Thatcher weave. Pyrothetic fighter craft are, like all of their other technology, purely biological. They are born in space, they are bred for being fighters and train all their lives to be just that, fighter craft. They are born as fighter craft, rather than every other species adopting the role of fighter pilot. There is nothing more perfect of a killing beast. Our fighters were often just held in reserve until we had near total numerical superiority, of at least 3 to 1 against them. We were born in the skies, and yet the humans have learned to outfly us. Their enemies were born as fighter craft, yet the human adoption of fighter pilot, somehow, can defeat them. The human pilots, being completely insane, developed the Thatcher weave during their Second World War. Yes, they had 2 world wars, and nearly came to a third several times on their pre-space flight homeworld. This weave involves 2 pilots flying side by side and waiting for an enemy to pounce on one. Then, as soon as they do, they get the opponent to chase. As I said, the Pyrothetic fighter craft should win this battle. They are more maneuverable. They can tolerate magnitudes more G-forces than any other creature who learned to fly a fighter craft. For absolute spite, they can even injure themselves to go faster by turning their blood into a kind of afterburner fuel. Except the humans then turn their craft into a near head-on collision, having the fighters shoot down each other's pursuers in near suicidal passes that, if they miss or do not do enough damage to their opponent, will be the end of everyone involved with head-on collisions. Parathitic fighters bred for war, made to own the skies all their lives, in the face of all of this, panicked. Yes, the human Air Force is that insane. To risk it all in near-suicidal charges to protect each other, knowing if they miss, everyone dies. Do you really want to face that sort of Air Force? Their highest-rated pilot has 89 kills currently, and over 60 of them are from using the Thatcher weave technique. The only counter to the technique is to break off your pursuit before you get suckered into it. I have met very few of our pilots who are willing to even practice the technique in live training, much less actually do it in combat. It is just too risky. At least, that is what they say. Human fighter pilots, especially those in their Air Force, are just plain crazy. This concludes my report upon the human Air Force. There are still 2 more branches I need to cover, but I will say this: no. I will not apologize for my actions. Go on and file your complaint. Even if a tribunal is commissioned, I doubt I will get more than a slap on the wrist. You want my support for this folly? You shall not have it either. I doubt my next 2 reports will convince you that war with the humans is a good idea. End Section 4, The Human Air Force. Sincerely, Admiral of the Fleet, Ricard. Admiral of the Fleet, from circa 2402 to 2504.